Hello, and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. On behalf of OTC Markets, we're very pleased you joined us for our three-day Metals and Mining Conference. Our next live presentation is from Founders Metals. Please note you may submit questions for the presenter in the box to the left of the slide. You can also view a company's availability for one-on-one meetings by clicking Book a Meeting in the top toolbar. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome Colin Paget. He's the President and Chief Executive Officer of Founders Metals, which trades on the OTCQX Best Market under the symbol FDMIF and on the TSXV under the symbol FDR. Welcome back, Colin.
Thanks very much, John. Yeah, glad to be here. All right, well, yeah, let's dive into it here. So I kind of intend to go through the full presentation from the very beginning, I guess, to give folks who are maybe uninitiated or not well informed on the story kind of a bit of the background, and then dive into some of the details, and hope to leave plenty of room for questions at the end as well. So yeah, more than happy to answer things for folks. So getting into it, Founders Metals is a gold exploration company focused on the Antino gold project in Suriname. Suriname is in the northeast corner of South America, and I'll get into the map part of it here in a bit, but we got started just under 3 years ago at Antino, and we do things a little different than the usual junior story. Bought originally two diamond drills of our own and got those running. In 22, we drilled 10,000 meters. We had a lot of success with the drill bit. In last year, we drilled 43,000 meters, ended the year with 4 drills turning. And then this year, we are on track to complete and potentially surpass a bit a 60,000 meter drill program with still 4 drills turning, but we now own 6, and we've got some capacity to continue ramping things up, and the success with the drilling has continued. So pretty exciting spot for us to be really part of a new discovery in what is a very exciting or very up and coming jurisdiction globally, and I'll dive into that. We of course be going through some forward-looking statements, but to jump into where we are and why we want to be there. So Suriname itself, we sit here at northeast corner of South America. The Atlantic Ocean is a little narrower than it should be here on this diagram, and it's really to demonstrate that geologically there's a continuity between West Africa and the Birimian shield here, and all the gold discoveries that I think a lot of the gold mining space or investment community is familiar with. And what the Guyana Shield represents is that same opportunity, just substantially less exploration on the ground there. And so there's still lots of these, big 10+ million ounce gold deposits that have been discovered to date, but there's a lot of opportunity for a lot of new, very large mines to still come online, and that's what we think we're onto here with the Antino project in Suriname. Zooming into the country, and for a little bit of kind of background, Suriname it's a pretty small place, about 400 by 400 kilometers in terms of size. About 650,000 people live there today, but 2 major mines and a very strong mining community and history in the country. But half of the annual production from the country in the gold space comes from the Newmont's Marion mine, and then Zijin now owns the Rosebel mine. Marion's been running since 2016 with Rosebel. It's effectively an institution in country, over 20 years of active production, and that in itself really speaks to that kind of mining-friendly jurisdiction and just the pro-mining space. Other half of production in the country is through small-scale artisanal type mining. So there's very much a connection to most everyone that gold mining or mining has. And that's certainly helped us get a lot done in a relatively short period of time on the ground. So we're down here in the southeast corner of the country, 200 square kilometer land package, or 20,000 hectares. We have exploitation concessions, and what that provides us is all the permitting, everything necessary for really any sort of exploration activities that we want to do on the ground, and would also encompass permits for establishing a mill or plant facility if we wanted to get into mining alluvial or tailings material, these sorts of things. So it's a really good spot to be in. It's the type of concession you want. Overall, I mentioned that we do our own drilling, so capital efficient exploration is kind of the name of the game for us. We all-in costs on drilling about $200 to $250 per meter. That's exceptional in our industry, and I think we about half of what it would cost if we were working with a third party, if not a little bit better than that. And then on site, we've got some great infrastructure. We're here about 200 kilometers from the capital. It's about a 50-minute flight, but we're fortunate to have a 1.3 kilometer airstrip at our main camp, and then barge access along a major river to bring anything heavy equipment wise into site. And right now that includes machinery all the way up to D8 bulldozers and 30 and 40 ton articulating haul trucks. So there's not a limitation there when it comes to developing something at scale and getting the equipment in that you need to do that. Because of the success we've had, and I think because of the scale opportunity that Antino really represents, we were very glad to welcome as a strategic investor last fall, B2 Gold to the roster. They came in for a 5% stake last year, and then have subsequently bought additional shares in the market as part of an obligation under the investor rights agreement that went along with that deal. So they're now around 6%, and continue to support the project. And again, very, very happy to have them as part of the go forward for us at Antino. There's lots of drill highlights here. I'm going to get into some maps with what those look like and where they sit. But the big takeaway is we have a very high grade gold deposit or gold discoveries in the Guyana Shield, and overall really working to build a lot of ounces on the project with overall average higher grade than what is typically seen elsewhere in the jurisdiction or in the region. Jump ahead here to quick corporate snapshot. So working capital right now, 39 working capital, cash we're a little bit lower than that, kind of mid 30s, and then shares outstanding, about 102 million shares out at the moment. Institutional support has been very strong for the project from a fairly early stage. So BlackRock is one of our largest shareholders, reporting over 10%, and as is Dynamic Funds or 1832, both very big supporters from early on. After that, just a few names: Franklin, Goring, and Vescor, but a number of it's a longer list than that, I guess. It's certainly one that's been growing, and we're happy to have all of the institutional holders we do. But we also have a large component of high net worth and retail investors that make up a big part of our story. And prior to the institutions getting in, it was really that support that got us off the ground in the earliest days. And so we do make it a focus to keep everyone informed and to really reach out as much as we can to the retail audience. And so with that, here today, and really hope that we can get into some questions towards the end of things. Analyst coverage has been growing. Recently, we had National Bank launch coverage, and then we've had a number of additional analysts to cite here somewhat recently, and so we expect that list to continue growing. Overall, share price is trading right around $4.40, $4.50 Canadian today. We're sitting at a Canadian market cap of around 450 million. So getting into the project and what has us so excited about it, and what's I think been exciting in terms of news flow and stuff over the last couple of years and several months here. So we right now, about 70% of our work is focused on Upper Antino, and so that's our most advanced project. In terms of intermediate projects, and these are it's Lower Antino and Boise. These two here are where we've got about 7,500 meters of drilling at those targets and growing. We have some plans to do some more drilling here this fall. And then moving out further to the east, you get into what we call or refer to as emerging targets. And these are ones where you really do get into some proper grassroots greenfields exploration where there's been no previous work done, no artisanal mining, brand new things that I think are some of that really big kind of blue sky upside that Antino represents. And we've had a lot of success with that drilling work. Even on those further afield targets, we have had a number of very high grade results come out of some first phase or first pass drilling. And with the dry season in Suriname right now, we're really looking forward to getting back here to testing some of these further out targets. So focusing first off on the really the upper Antino, so the advanced targets, and then our two more intermediate stage targets and what those represent. And then we'll get into really the exploration plans here coming into the fall and then going into 2026. So upper Antino, as I said, is about 70% of the drilling to date has been focused here. At this point, we've defined gold mineralization over a strike length of 1.9 kilometers. This 450 meters wide refers to just the shear zone hosted mineralization in this main zone here, this Froyo zone. It doesn't actually include the donut zone over here. And that's one of the opportunities we see at Upper Antino, is really filling in this gap here, because the combined across strike width there would be upwards of a kilometer, putting all of these things together. Right now, or more recently, we put out press releases where we've hit the same sort of high grade mineralization that we had in shallower holes. We've hit that now at depth, and kind of demonstrated that this project has legs. So when most of the projects in the Guyana Shield typically do see mineralization extend to considerable depths, and we're now down to 450, 500 meters vertical with the highest grade mineralization. And so there's a lot of opportunity for kind of continued upside in the long term for growing this. Our plans for this year and for go forward here are really, at this moment, it remains open along strike, and so it's continuing in both that kind of north and south direction. There's some opportunity, some evidence of mineralization in the footwall, and so there's certainly possibility for extension to the west here. And then, as I mentioned, continuing to fill this in. Going forward, now that we've kind of demonstrated there's that opportunity for mineralization at depth and potential long-term underground scenario, we're really going to be focusing going forward on the what would be a conceptual kind of pit depth, and looking at that 325 meter target for a lot of the drilling going forward, just to be as efficient with the drilling and with the capital spend as we can be as we continue advancing this. But I mean, the growth that we've seen here over this period has been really spectacular, and we continue to see those high grade zones continue along strike, and as we start to do some infill drilling, we are starting to see that there is continuity along strike from that infill work for those high grade shoots, and that's really important to this story and to the early economics of a future mining project. Moving to the two intermediate targets, and I can get into details later on with some questions, but the big picture here is we have two styles of mineralization at Antino, and Upper Antino is largely shear hosted high grade mineralization, but donut and then the next two that I'll get into are bulk tonnage intrusion hosted mineralization, and they present their own kind of unique opportunity, I feel, for Antino. And that's that we have this high-grade gold mineralization from Upper Antino that really drives, early economics. And then there's opportunity for some substantial scale out of these bulk tonnage from surface, low strip type mining scenarios here with the intrusion-hosted mineralization at both Boise and Lower Antino. So for scale, this pretty small image up here, but Boise is about 6 kilometers from Upper Antino. Lower Antino is 4 kilometers from Upper Antino. And what we see at both of them is, these intrusion hosted, or these intrusive bodies that are hosting mineralization with some pretty substantial grades, but some fantastic background numbers as well. So, the kind of 112 meters of 0.55 here, means you've got that background mineralization with these high grade or higher grade shear components internal to that, that really work together, and what we're working to build here is to demonstrate that there's an opportunity to combine those high-grade shears internal to that lower-grade background, and see something with substantial tonnage that winds up being that additional mill feed long term. I look at some of the other deposits in the area and just in general, and we have an opportunity at Antino where developing and understanding the scale potential of these sorts of things, as well as some of the further afield targets, really puts us in a place to develop the most efficient and most economic overall mining project. Really knowing what's there before getting into the study work is a big part of the plan for Antino, is understanding the full picture and then building the most efficient, most economic scenario from that. Lower Antino, as I mentioned, same sort of thing, 700 plus meters of strike over and 3 different zones. We're working through an auger anomaly. We're only about 30% through it. So there's an awful lot of opportunity for scale there from even beyond the 29 drill holes that we've done to date into this. Grades have been very consistent, and that's one thing that's also really key to these sort of mining situations or these sort of potential deposits. Is 82 meters of 1, 50 meters of 1, 24 of 1. All of that is very attractive because there's a lot of continuity between these intervals, and we're seeing it from surface. There's much of the oxide material is preserved at Lower Antino. There's not been any artisanal mining of that, a lot of that drilling, and so it's a really has opportunity to add a lot of ounces long term to the whole Antino story. Moving from there out, and then really what's going to be a focus of drilling this fall, because we're in the dry season now, we are going to be moving out to the exploration, kind of the further field, kind of grassroots greenfield type exploration work, where there's been almost no exploration other than our own historically. There is today probably about 40% or a little bit better than that of the property that's never seen an auger sample, never seen any mining, and presents a lot of opportunity for discovery. With drilling to date, we've had a lot of very good early success. Maria Giralda, 22 meters of almost 12 grams per ton in our 3rd drill hole there. The 3rd hole at Da Vinci was 26 meters of 2.21. And then Van Gogh, which is right now, this is actually call it my favorite target, just because I really like the discovery story here. This was no historic mining, no historic exploration work whatsoever, and it really was truly a prospector in a creek, finding a shear zone, getting some samples taken, and then progressing through trenching and into drilling. And that first drill hole returned 28.5 meters of 7, and subsequent to that we had 72 meters of over 2 grams per ton in some of the most consistent and broadest shearing that we've seen to date on the property. So really excited about that one and excited to be getting back there with some drilling. So at the moment, we have a drill working on the Parbo target. We've just finished up our 2nd phase of drilling at Maria Giralda with kind of assays pending there. And we've got a drill at Da Vinci. We're drilling at Lower Antino, and then finishing up some stuff at Upper Antino for the early work there. We'll be moving out to Van Gogh and then ultimately just some other targets as well here later this fall, and expect that within the dry season to also make it out to the furthest east at Lawa here as well. This represents a really large area. So to build on this exploration story, we're also doing full property auger. So anywhere that there's not been auger samples or anywhere that there are gaps, we're going to be filling all of those in ourselves. And that really is the kind of, I think, first step to identifying a lot of these discoveries. And that's what all of these bubbles or dots are on this map is a lot of it historic, some of it our own work, but auger sampling, and it does a great job of identifying where these things are typically. The other one is we have basically a regional scale airborne geophysical survey that will be starting here later this month. And that's going to cover all of the property, and then with some buffer around the property as well. Yeah, that's looking to hopefully give us a lot more context and a data set that we don't have currently. And really, I think will help build that exploration pipeline long term as we move forward with the project and property. So moving through those, just to add a little bit of additional details, but not spending too much time on it because I do want to keep a couple minutes for questions. Yeah, Da Vinci, we had some fantastic grade in the early holes. We're back there right now following some surface exploration work and looking to see that grow both along strike and in some of the potentially developing kind of parallel shears cross strike. Van Gogh, same sort of thing. We're doing the surface work right there and following the Da Vinci work, we'll have that drill heading in that direction. And then Maria Giralda is the most recent piece that we put news out on in terms of exploration. That one, 1.3 kilometers of strike came out of a recent auger survey grid that we completed. That's looking like it's going to continue growing. And then we've got the drill holes pending right now, and yeah, looking forward to getting those assays out or those results out to people as soon as we can to keep people as up to date on the project as possible. And then Lawa, as I mentioned, we will get out there. We had some early drilling and hit lots of mineralization. We didn't get the grade that we wanted there, but for a first couple of drill holes into a brand new, very large area with some exceptional rock grabs and channels and things, we see a lot of potential for that once we do get out there. Again, with a drill for a lot more follow-up work. And then lastly, but not least, is Parbo. This is really shaping up to be quite an interesting target, a little bit different style, it looks, to the mineralization. So there's some things that our geologists are working on, but some of the core and things coming out of the ground look very promising. So keen to get assays back on that core and also be communicating that. So yeah, it's all things that are coming up, and there certainly will be additional exploration targets beyond that as well. So quickly kind of going through just where we're at in the process of things in terms of our overall successes along the timeline here, and then some of the catalysts we have coming up. So a lot of drilling success along the way. We have 5 new discoveries over the last 14 months in further afield targets and some of the stuff closer to Upper Antino as well. B2 Gold is a strategic investor. Excellent metallurgy work from preliminary work that we've done. And then, right now in terms of big catalysts and what you'd expect this fall is, lots of drilling news upcoming, particularly focused on these exploration targets and looking to build one of the things we've already found, but we're always looking to find new things as well. And project ownership. We've completed stage 2 of our option agreement. And so we're now well into working towards the final stage 3, which would be 75%, or potentially moving into a joint venture scenario with our partners on the ground there that would allow us some flexibility towards earning more ownership potentially. And then lastly, but not least, is the land acquisition piece. We are making progress on the land acquisition side of things, and we really do see adding substantial ground to Antino as a big part of the long-term potential of the overall story. So yeah, there's a lot of future and ongoing upside. So I'll pause things there, and it looks like there's a few questions, so maybe we can get to some of those. Yeah, one second here. So yeah, jump into that. So first question that's here at the top of the list is what's the long-term vision for Antino and milestones for 25 and 26? And so I touched on some of the milestone pieces, but the overall long-term vision of Antino is we have Upper Antino already as that really high-grade gold deposit, that starts to, really does justify the infrastructure and expense of developing a project in this part of Suriname. And then we see all of these other exploration targets, whether it's the advanced targets or some of these further afield things, is really adding that additional feed and those additional ounces long term. And one of the things that's true for orogenic gold projects in a lot of places, but particularly in the Guyana Shield, is that these things grow. And so, we look at examples like Rosebel and Marion that both started, with the kind of 2 million or sub 2 million ounce sort of resources in those cases, and now 10 million ounce plus deposits. And so we do see a very long-term view on the overall project. And then the big milestones coming up here are already kind of touched on. We had a question here about, so can you provide an overview of the management team and experience with similar projects? So on my side, so I'm a geologist, is really my main background, I'd say. I started on the business side of things, but then back to school for geology, grad school in geology, and then spent a lot of work both through grad school and then subsequent to working on orogenic gold deposits. So very much strong field-based technical background on this exact deposit type. I'd also add that our team includes Vincent Combe as our chief geologist, who's written at this point 5 peer-reviewed journal articles on the Guyana Shield. He did his PhD on the Yao gold deposit, which sits about 10 kilometers from Antino. And I think it's probably the most knowledgeable person on the geology front, on the technical side, for that part of the world, really. After that, we've had some, recent larger additions to the board. So we had Chris Taylor join last fall from Great Bear. I was very glad to have Chris join the story, and he's been very helpful to me in kind of moving that story forward. And we're continuing to evolve the overall board and management. Yeah. I have a question about when we expect 43101 resource for the Antino project. Right now, we are very much focused on exploration. And I think we just recently had a site tour with a number of investors, institutional investors. And one of the big comments was that, the thing they took away was really the scale, but also just how early things are, on that front. And so there's a lot of opportunity to continue building at Upper Antino, continue adding ounces there, but also for, developing some of these intermediate targets. We're finding new things that then get incorporated into a kind of larger global study. When it comes to studies, we do have a number of, kind of items happening in the background. So, additional metallurgical testing, environmental baseline work, all of these things, these long lead item type work that would go into eventual PEA feasibility study work, they are also taking place. We had one more question was about B2 Gold and whether they have a first right of refusal for mine development or anything like that. Part of the investor rights agreement with B2 is a right of first refusal at the asset level for a period of 1 year from doing the deal last November. So, yeah, that's not a big string, not a barrier to really anything strategically moving forward. And yeah, it looks like we're being told we're just about out of time there. So I'll wrap things up. I'd like to say thank you very much to everyone for taking the time to join today. And if anyone does have additional questions, please feel free to reach out to our team or to set up a meeting. More than happy to talk to people on a one-on-one basis on a call and go through the story in more detail or more technically, whatever the case may be. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate it.